Today we're going to learn about the Pythagorean Theorem. The Pythagorean Theorem is a tool for figuring out an unknown side of a right triangle. Okay, so first we need a quick review of the parts of the right triangle. A right triangle, like the one pictured here, always has two legs. Those are the sides next to the right angle. Okay, for the Pythagorean Theorem, we'll label the legs A and B. This one's A, this one's B. Doesn't matter which one you put as A and B. We could switch those two, and we'll still get the same solution. However, it is important which side you pick for the hypotenuse. That's always the one across from the right angle. We're going to call that side C. Okay, the Pythagorean Theorem says that the squares of the two legs added together equal the square of the hypotenuse. Okay, so with the letters I've written there, that would be A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, let's go ahead and try an example. Okay, so the first example on your worksheet has this right triangle. It says one side is 3 and one side is 4, and we need to find the other side. Okay, so the first step to any of these problems is to identify which side you're trying to find. Is it a leg or is it the hypotenuse? In this case, I'm looking for the side opposite that right angle, so that's going to be side C. That's the hypotenuse. Okay, so using the Pythagorean Theorem, I can set that up as 3 squared plus 4 squared equals C squared. Okay, and then you guys know this much. It's algebra. I've got to figure out what C is. Okay, so I would start to simplify. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16 equals C squared. 9 plus 16, that's 25 equals C squared. And then I take the square root of both sides, solve. C would be plus or minus 5. Okay, but hold on here. Just because I take the square root, I get plus or minus 5. That is not my final answer for C. Okay, notice C refers to the length of a triangle. I don't want a negative answer for the length of the triangle. That's not possible. So C equals 5, positive 5, is the only answer for this problem. Okay, and that's going to be true of all the Pythagorean Theorem problems. You're going to be finding the length of a right triangle. So if you're looking for the one side of a right triangle, it's going to be a positive number because all the positive numbers are measurable. Okay, go ahead to the next example. This is example 2. Okay, so first step, identify which side you're trying to find. 20 and 21, those are the legs because they're right next to the right angle. The hypotenuse is what I'm trying to find again. Okay, so I set that up using the Pythagorean Theorem. 20 squared plus 21 squared equals C squared. And then I have to start simplifying. At this point, you might need to take out a calculator because I wouldn't know 20 squared plus 21 squared off the top of my head. So I would plug that in. 20 squared is actually 400. If you type in 21 squared, you should get 441 equals C squared. Okay, and then I start to simplify. 400 plus 441, that's 841. Okay, and then when I take the square root of 841, the result is 29. I don't need to worry about the negative 29 because, again, it's the length of the side of a triangle, so it's going to be only the positive answer. Alright, example 3. Example 3 is a little different, okay, because 28, that's a leg. 53, though, that's opposite the right angle, so that one is actually the hypotenuse. I'm looking for one of the legs. Okay, I'm going to call the unknown side A. You could choose the letter A or B. Either way, you're going to get the same solution. Okay, so if I set up my Pythagorean Theorem, A squared plus 28 squared equals 53 squared, and then I just have to solve for A. Okay, so I start to simplify. 28 squared, I would type that into my calculator. You get 784. 53 squared is 2,809. Okay, and then now I need to get A by itself. That requires me to subtract 784 from both sides. And then I end up with just A squared on the left. 2,809 minus 784 is 2,025. And take the square root of both sides. Final result, A equals 45. Okay, I don't need to worry about the negative 45. 45 just refers to the positive length, that side of the triangle. Okay, go ahead to example 4. Okay, example 4 is a right triangle. There's one part missing. First you got to identify, is that the hypotenuse of the triangle that's missing, or is that one of the legs? It looks like root 24 is a leg. 5 is opposite the right angle, so that's hypotenuse. So we'll say this one is side B. It's one of the legs. Okay, so from here, I can go ahead and set up the Pythagorean theorem using the parts. Square root of 24 squared plus b squared equals 5 squared. Okay, now I need to solve. Root 24 squared is just 24. Okay, b squared all equals 5 squared, which is 25. And then I would subtract the 24 from both sides to get the b squared by itself. End up with b squared equals 1. And then square root. So b equals positive 1. Okay, go ahead and slide down to the last problem. Alright, the last one's got one new twist in it, and that it's got decimals. That doesn't change our process, it just means you probably definitely have to use a calculator to find those square values. Identify which side is missing. In this case, it is definitely one of the legs because it's next to the right angle, so we'll call it A. You could also call it B. You'll get the same answer in the end. So I set up my Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus 1.8 squared equals 5.4 squared. And then I start to simplify. 1.8 squared, type that into the calculator, you get 3.24. 5.4 squared, if I type that in, I get 29.16. And then to simplify, I would subtract that 3.24 from both sides. So then I end up with a squared on the left, 29.16 minus 3.24, that's 25.92. And then last, take the square root of both sides to get a all by itself. Should end up with 5.09. Now I did round on that last one. I cut it off at 2 decimal places because I don't want to have to write down 1,000 different decimal places. So I end up rounding to 5.09. And that's the video on the Pythagorean theorem. Now you should be able to find an unknown side of a right triangle when you know 2 other sides.